Welcome to Lotus Me Bloom podcast. This is your host, Madison Ansel, and this podcast is all about spirituality, self-development, things I've learned, and so much more. If you're into that stuff, then you found the right podcast. Hi everyone, welcome back to Lotus Me Bloom podcast. So today's episode is all about becoming more positive and how I personally went from being more of a negative person to a positive person. But let me just make it really clear that I still struggle with my own negative thoughts. I am not perfect. And a lot of the time, I do still have very negative thoughts, but I have trained myself to be more positive in a way that in the past I would not have dealt with a situation the way I deal with it now. Hopefully that makes sense. Basically, what I'm trying to say is that I used to be very negative, but I've always been positive at the core. And I feel like most of us are like positive and, you have that drive to chase your dreams and stuff when you're younger. And then time goes on, we absorb everyone else's beliefs and feelings, and then we create our own stories by the stories we were told, and then we tell ourselves we can't do this, and who do we think we are, and we honestly just become more negative. And even if you don't resonate with being a negative person, I definitely feel like we all can relate that we have negative thoughts. So like at my core, for sure, I have always been a dreamer. I've always been that person that's like anything's possible. And I think along the way, I just got weighed down by other people's opinions and society's opinions. And I formed my own stories where I became very negative. And even if you don't resonate with being a negative person, we all have our own challenges. We all face those doubts and have negative feelings at some point in our life. And that's the thing I really want to get across too, is that life has ups and downs. There's duality to everything. There's positive, there's negative, there's good, and there's bad. It just is, There really isn't one or the other. And that's what I'm going to get across, is that neutrality is the best place to be at when you are dealing with negative thoughts, but I will get into that later. But I just want to get across that even the most positive people have hard days, but it's just how you deal with things and situations that can be trained to look at differently. And I'm saying train like you're a dog, but truly that's what it is. Like, you need to train your brain to think differently, and it's not going to happen overnight. And let me just make that clear as well. Being positive is like training a dog. Like, it's not going to be an overnight thing. You have to keep at it. You have to do the repetition to get yourself to the point where your natural reaction is to think something positive versus thinking the worst, where I used to be, for sure. I dealt with my mental health my whole life. I suffered with severe depression, and I still suffer with anxiety, but I have been at a place in my life where I was very hopeless, very negative, and a victim mentality, and just, everything that happened, it was happening to me instead of for me. And it truly is just a mindset shift. And I know that, like, easier said than done. I know, like, I used to get really tired of hearing that shit when I was going through my own stuff, because that is annoying. It's not just an easy, flip of a switch. And I understand that. But I'm here to tell you that there's little things that you can do to train yourself to look at something in a different light. And baby steps. That's all I'm asking. Baby steps. And you will see the difference. It might be something so small, but what I'm sharing with you guys today is literally one of the most important things that I've ever done for myself. And it truly changed my life. I touched on it a little bit in multiple episodes. I know I did the last episode, But truly, 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 if you guys just listen and take these steps that I'm sharing, if you battle with your mental health and negative emotions and feelings, I promise you this will help. And like I said, give yourself some grace, okay? Like, it's not just like an overnight thing, and we all still suffer. I still suffer, okay? I still get very negative, but I'm going to touch on what I do for myself in this episode. So I actually made notes for this episode. I'm trying to be a little bit more organized, but the number one thing, and I've talked about this in a few episodes, like I said, is to neutralize your thoughts. Neutralizing your thoughts, especially when you feel like you are more on the negative side, is so powerful and truly what changed my life. I made the decision one day that I was like not going to keep being victim to my thoughts. And it's okay to have negative feelings. It's okay for those thoughts to come up, but you have to remember that like they're just thoughts. They're not your truth. Like, stop identifying so much with your thoughts. If you think you're a piece of shit and like you think like, oh my God, like I'm just not good enough, let them be there. But just know that they can't stay. Stop ruminating with the thoughts. I used to literally make myself suffer because, and goes way deeper into like my mental health journey, and I'm not getting deep into that quite yet, but I used to dive so deep into my thoughts and like make myself suffer with them as like a self-punishment thing. Like, I would be like, nope, you're not getting up. You're not doing this. You're going to lay here because you're not good enough. Like, I would totally disregard even like self-care things, letting myself out of my room, because I would sit and ruminate. And this was in the deeps of my depression, mind you, but you have to stop letting your thoughts rule you. You need to find a place of neutrality, and this is how I found mine. I would say, okay, I'm going to think this thought, but I'm not going to sit and like, let it ruin my whole day type of thing. Like, okay, have that thought, and then what is really powerful is to counteract those thoughts with a positive one. But if you're not there yet, then that's okay. Just taking the time to allow your thoughts to be there and not like instantly attach to them is a huge step in itself. So allow the thought to come through. Okay, I'm not good enough. I'm ugly, whatever. Okay, but I'm not going to sit and like identify with it. I just want to make this really clear. I want to make sure I'm explaining this the best I can, but don't allow it to be your truth, because it's just a thought. It's just passing. It's just like if I were to say, don't think of a blue tree, you're going to think of a blue tree. It's literally, there's science behind like we have to think the thought to stop thinking the thought. I literally just was watching a whole video about this. It's actually like brain science. Like, you have to think the thought to let it go. And this is like a little off topic, but your subconscious mind doesn't register any type of negative word. So like not, never. So if you keep saying like, don't think this, you're going to think it. So allow yourself to think about it and then let it pass by. I'm not going to keep saying this because I feel like I've said it enough. Stop letting your negative thoughts become your truth. Now, if they're positive ones, hell yeah, go all in, because that's where a lot of the manifestation comes in. And that's what I kind of want to touch on next is affirmations are a great way to retrain your mind. You won't always believe them at first. And I still struggle with some of my own affirmations, but it kind of feels like gaslighting sometimes when you're like, no, I am good enough. I am good enough, when you don't believe it. But you know what? As long as it's healthy and, in a positive way, go for it. Like, affirmations are just helping us program our subconscious mind. So if you think, oh, I'm not good enough, allow that thought to be there. And if you are at the point where you can start saying more positive things to yourself, say, no, I am good enough. I am good enough. And you, like I said, will not believe it at first. It's going to be very difficult. I used to not be able to look at myself in the mirror and say, I love you without crying. You won't believe it at first, but you will get there. And that's the beauty of affirmations. People are like, does this actually work? No, it does. It does. Trust me, I struggle with it myself. I don't always want to do affirmations. Sometimes I'm like, I'm sitting here saying I'm rich and like looking at my bank account like, I don't know about this. Like, you know what I'm saying? So I get it, but it's a great way to retrain your subconscious mind, and it's a great practice. Literally, I'm telling you, this was like the turning point in my mental health journey, is when I decided to start doing this. I don't know what propelled me to do it. I think I was just kind of fed up with myself at this point, and I was like, you gotta stop. We have to try to work at this. For me personally, like, I'm not gonna get too deep into like my own like mental health journey. I say this a lot just because I don't know how deep I want to go. But something very significant happened to the point where I was like, okay, I literally can't keep doing this. And I started to seek other things and other ways that I could heal. And I feel like when you do get to that point, like, everything slowly starts aligning, even though it doesn't seem that way because you're still like in the pits of it, but things will get better, and you will have these like motives of like, okay, I want to start thinking differently, or I want to start feeding my body better. Just like you start to care more about yourself, like, I feel like when you're really, really depressed, you just don't give a shit about anything or yourself. And I feel like when you kind of flip that switch of like, I'm going to make a different decision today, it's like you literally timeline hop. But we're not going to get into all of that yet. But what I want to make very, very, very clear, allow yourself to feel the negative emotion. Just because you have negative feelings or thoughts doesn't mean that you're going to fuck up your manifestations. Like, that's a bunch of horse shit, okay? I want to debunk that you always have to think positive thoughts to manifest things, because I feel like when you start to learn about law of attraction, that is like a thought of like, oh my gosh, I'm just being so negative. Like, I'm going to manifest all this bad shit and it's going to happen to me. No, we all have negative thoughts. The most, positive spiritual people have negative thoughts. The people that teach manifestation, they have negative thoughts. We are human. We have, multiple layers to us. Like, there's negative so that we can feel the positive, and if you don't feel your feelings, that's just going to cause more fucking issues. Okay. It's going to cause resentment towards people and yourself. Like, you need to deal with your shit. Okay. And you need to feel it. You suppressing shit is literally going to just cause a explosion later on. Like, it's not helping. You need to deal with your stuff. So yes, try to counteract those negative thoughts. But if you're having a bad day or you're upset, it's okay to fucking feel it and to cry it out. Like, you're allowed to sit with those negative feelings for a day, for a week, whatever you need to do. But what I'm trying to say is to not ruminate past the point of, okay, I processed it, but now I'm going to sit here with it still because I deserve it. Like, that is self-punishment on a whole other level. You are allowed to process your feelings, but you have to know at some point, okay, I got to get back up. I got to do the things I need to do. And I am worthy. I am good enough. And, you have to find that point of like, okay, I processed it enough. Now let's keep it moving. Like, you can't, there's a fine line for sure, but at some point you have to like, get back up and do the things you need to do. There's a point of processing and then ruminating to the point where you're just like digging the hole deeper. So we don't want to do that. So definitely feel the feelings. If you're pissed off, allow yourself to be pissed off. Your feelings are valid, okay? Your feelings are valid. And most of the time you're feeling it for a certain reason. Someone made you feel that way. Maybe there's something that you need to look at deeper within yourself. Whatever it is. It doesn't always have to be this big, like, revelation of like, oh my gosh, I'm pissed, I'm upset because I need to go deeper into my healing. No, sometimes you're just fucking pissed. Like, sometimes you're just pissed and that's okay. Like, we are fucking humans and I'm not perfect by any means, okay? Sometimes I get moody and I get very fucking hangry. Let me tell you that. I get very hangry. And that's okay because I'm a human and I'm working on it. But I have trained myself to think more positively in shittier situations now. Like, I've worked on myself so much that my just overall set point is more positive, and I can look at a situation now, the shittiest situation, and somehow find the silver lining to it. Now, there is something called toxic positivity, and that's why I'm trying to just make it clear, like, you can be upset and you can feel negative emotions. And I think the toxic positivity part is when people push to, like, not feel those feelings, and it makes you feel like your feelings are invalid. So, this is not what I'm trying to push, is to, like, not feel the feelings. But where I'm at now in my life, I can, like, be pissed about something, but also, like, I have this thought that's automatic now that's like, no, this is happening for a reason. So, but it's not like this toxic positivity of like, oh no, it's fine, like the people pleasing shit. Like, no, I can still be pissed off that you did something fucked up to me, but I can have like a positive thought of like, okay, this person wasn't meant to be in my life anyways. You know what I'm saying? Instead of being like so pissed that this person fucked me over. Like, I can just have more positive thoughts about a situation without it being like a bunch of bullshit, toxic positivity stuff. You know what I'm saying? So, like, for example, the other day, I was very fucking pissed off. Very pissed the fuck off. Okay? And I had very valid reasons to be pissed the fuck off. And I'm not going to say too much because I don't know who listens to my shit. So I'm going to keep it together. But I was very pissed. And honestly, my first thought was like, Madison, like, it's not a bad life. It's not a bad day. Okay? It's just this person. Like, because in the past, when something bad happened, it was like I just wanted to tear down the whole fucking, house with it. Like, I wanted to burn everything through my path. Like, no, fuck life, fuck this, fuck that. Like, that saying, it's like, it's not a bad life, it's just a bad day. And so I've gotten to the point where I can be a little bit more self-aware, that I can step back, almost looking at myself from like a third party view, and be like, okay, you're pissed. You have valid reasons to be pissed, and you're still allowed to feel pissed. But okay, let's not like burn down the whole city for it. You know what I'm saying? Like, yes, it's fucked up, but not everyone sucks, like, it's fine. Like, this person is just this person. Like, it's okay. So I can get myself to be a little bit more positive in really, really shitty situations. Like, if, for example, in the past, I had to leave a job, and even though, like, it was very messy, it was just a shit show, I could find like the silver lining of like, okay, this was not where I was meant to be. Like, this is just propelling me forward. I can like see the bigger picture of things now versus like in the past, I would have been like, everything sucks. I hate my life. Like, nothing ever goes right for me. The best saying to live by is, things aren't happening to me, they're happening for me. And you have to just look at life like that. Because truly, even the shittiest situations, you might not understand why they're happening or what's the real reason behind it. It might be a total shit show for you, but in some capacity, it's happening for you and for your highest good. You might not be able to see it now, but a year later, 2 years later, you'll see that it all was meant to happen the way it was supposed to. So yeah, I've gotten to a point in my life that I can have a automatic positive thought while I'm literally sitting in the emotion of being upset or pissed off. I guess it has to do with my connection with myself and just my trust in divine, that I have been able to see the silver lining, but also just motivational thoughts to myself. I've gotten to the point where I was super pissed off, but I was like, no, use this as fuel. Use this to, push yourself to get to where you want to go. Don't let this stop you. Like, those thoughts are like automatically programmed into my mind because I have worked on myself enough. I've had to face a lot of different situations where people did not agree with me and we weren't on the same page. And I had to, like I've talked about in another episode, I had to be my strongest supporter. I had to believe in myself. And so when you build that relationship with yourself, the outside influence doesn't really fuck with you as much. I've just built a really good relationship with myself to the point where I can tell myself, even if I don't believe it, things are going to get better. This is just a, little blimp in the chapter of your life. Like, I have truly gotten to a point where I believe the things that I say to myself. In the beginning, no, I didn't always believe the affirmations. And I feel like when I say affirmations, people think it's like you have to sit and say them all day. No, your affirmations are something that you just say to yourself during the day, like counteracting a negative thought. You saying, no, things are going to get better, that's an affirmation. You might not think about it in that way because I feel like, everything's so like specific in the spiritual community. It's like affirmations, subconscious mind, and then you have manifestation. This is how you do it. Like, you're always manifesting. And you're always saying affirmations. The self-talk is affirmations. We're just not always conscious of it. But what I'm trying to say is that I've gotten to a point where I do believe them now. I do believe majority of the things I do say. Now, there are some that, like I said, when I'm like, I'm rich, I don't always, believe that because my reality does not show me that. But I know one day that I will be. So what I just want to get across is that you can train your mind. You can get to this point of believing the things you do say. And I know for myself, when I have said in the past, things are going to get better, when I didn't believe it, my life has shown me and proved to me that they do. So when I do say that, I know that it's true. I know that it's just a very small, part in my life and it's not forever. I know that things get better because I've been at a very low point in my life and things have gotten better. So when you build that trust and that relationship with yourself and the divine, you will start to believe those things. And I just want to make it very clear that, yeah, it might not be an overnight thing, but it's possible. And that's the only thing you need to believe, is that it's possible. Because once you believe it's possible, the universe will show you that what you are trying to put out into the universe, it'll match. like your reality will match that. And I really hope like I'm explaining this well. So I think this is a great time to lead into what I want to talk about next, and what I've kind of already been talking about, but the relationship with yourself is literally so important. And if you don't really, struggle with mental health and you're just trying to be more positive, or whatever the case, maybe you do really struggle with mental health, you need to take care of yourself, is basically what I want to say. Your self-care is important. The mental stress, you releasing that is important. Like, you taking care of yourself is important. Building that relationship with yourself is very important. And I have a whole episode talking about how to trust yourself and how to build that relationship with yourself and the universe. But truly, it doesn't have to be super complicated. You just taking the time for yourself to sit with yourself and be able to, get to a place of neutrality is very, very important. And what I want to say too is that when you have an emotion that comes up and it's very charged, like you're pissed off, don't make rash decisions. Give yourself some time to process how you're feeling, at least an hour before you decide, I'm going to go tell this person off. I'm going to go quit my job. I'm going to go, whatever rash decision that you tend to think about when you're spiraling. I've been there. Okay. Like when I'm pissed, I'm like, girl, I'm about to tell you about yourself, but that's not always the best decision. Okay. So give yourself some time to process that, because when you take an hour or so, you're not as charged up and you can come from a place of neutrality. And when you're calmed down, you can have more of those positive thoughts. So let your emotions be there. And when you calm down a little bit, it's easier to see that silver lining. It's easier to see, okay, I'm good, but fuck that hoe. like you could still be pissed off, but like it doesn't have to be this like fuck the world type of energy, like you could still be pissed the fuck off at someone, but come from a more calm place of like, no, you're still in the wrong, but I'm good. I'm not going to let you get to me. I'm still pretty, whatever you need to do for yourself, but like still allow yourself to process the emotion, but just give yourself some time before you make a reaction. Okay. That was a little side note, but I know how some of us get and, caught up in the moment, you do some shit and you regret it. So give yourself some time. And when you give yourself some time, it's easier to have those positive thoughts. It's easier to be like, okay, good things are coming for me. That's not worth my attention, all that good stuff. But what I want to get back to is just the relationship with yourself is so important. And when you build that and like you are your number one supporter, you are like just in good communication with yourself, all of this comes so much easier. Okay. Like the best relationship you will ever have is with yourself, period. I will always say that. Like you come into this life by yourself, you're going to leave by yourself. Take walks, go shopping by yourself. Like do those things that fuel you and, go in nature. Nature helps so much. Nature helps so much with negative thoughts. It literally just helps you get to a neutral ground. And then you realize like, life's not so bad. Look how beautiful the trees are. Look at the flowers. Like it just helps you get more present. Also, I'm sorry for this weird jump cut in the video. My camera overheated and was like, girl, you need to, get with it because I'm done. She's done. It's hot in here. So I had to take my blanket off too. Anyways, so what I want to just get at is that if you have negative thoughts, you need to ground yourself. You need to get in nature. It just helps you change your perspective on things, and you need to build the relationship with yourself as in doing the things you love. I have a whole episode about this, but you need to build that. You need to make sure you're good. You can't be putting everybody else before you. You can't pour from an empty cup. You have to make sure you're good first. And when you are taking care of yourself, it's easier to have a better mental health up here, you know what I'm saying? And be able to have those more positive thoughts, you know? If you are lacking sleep, lacking good, proper nutrition, it's harder for us to have positive thoughts. That's like a whole different topic, but like food plays a huge role into your mental health. If you're eating junk, you're not giving yourself enough of your vitamins, you're not getting enough sleep, that plays huge into the mental health. I know I'm really fucking cranky when I don't get enough sleep. So, you know, make sure you're doing those things for sure. Want to make sure that you're, you know, doing the things you need to. And that's why I'm trying to make it very clear is that you need to take care of yourself. Okay. It's very important, because if you're not, you add more stress to your life, and that just adds to the negativity. Like, I get very negative when I'm not taking care of myself. Like, when I'm stressed the fuck out and I just can't seem to balance everything, I'm not taking care of myself, I'm not eating right, I'm not getting enough sleep, I'm not drinking enough water, girl, my boyfriend can attest to this. I get very just stressed the fuck out. Like, and then it's hard to find like the silver lining. It's hard to be positive when you're just stressed. So what I like to do personally, if I'm ruminating, what helps me is forcing myself to move my body or change locations. So moving your body literally releases endorphins. You working out, you going to the gym or going for a walk, just moving your body, doing some yoga, dancing in your room, literally releases happy feelings. So make sure you're doing, you know, the things you need to do. Exercising is great, and how I've, you know, changed my whole mind on how I work out, like why I go to the gym and stuff now. I just made a YouTube video on my personal channel, Madison Ansel, giving some tips on how I get myself to like work out basically. But it's to go for my mental health. It's strictly for my mental health. Of course, I have body goals. There's things I want to achieve, but I truly just go now, and I've reprogrammed my why, it being for my mental health. But of course, like, yeah, I have body goals and stuff like that, but it's just so important for your mental health. It helps relieve stress, especially when you're super pissed off and you go for a run, like you do a really hard workout where you're just sweating. It's like you get yourself back to neutrality, because you're like, why am I even upset anymore? Because I'm so fucking tired. I'm so hot from working out. Like, you don't even have a reason to be upset anymore. That's a great way to get back to neutrality. I'm sorry, I just hit my mic. But changing locations, maybe it is going for a walk. Maybe it is, you know, going to a different hike location. Leo talked about this in his podcast, Aware and Aggravated, how, you know, different locations have different vibrations, and that's 100% true. Like, that's why Sedona, every spiritual person goes to Sedona, because it has a higher frequency. You just going to different locations gives you a different perspective, a different outlook on life. It helps you bring yourself back to neutrality, and just gives you like more motivation and stuff. You know, it doesn't even have to be like a grand trip that you spend $1,000 on. It could just be maybe 30 minutes away, or going to a different hiking location. I think like getting in nature in general feels like you're going away. Like, I get so much inspiration and just so much peace to my mind when I go in nature, and I just acknowledge the beauty of life. And, you know, being in the sun, you know, I love that stuff. So changing your location is huge, because you ever went to a concert and you're just like, oh my gosh, that was like the time of my life. You feel so good. You feel inspired. Maybe, you know, if you're an artist or whatever, even if you're not, you just feel like, wow, like that was great. Like, when I went to the comedy, Adam Sandler's comedy show, I felt so inspired and so motivated. No, I don't want to be a comedian, but like, I just felt so good. And it was only like an hour away. Like, just getting out of the house and just, it just helps change your mind and gets you to that place of a more positive outlook, you know? I just feel like people forget about that a lot. Like, changing your location, moving your body plays so much into being a positive person. Like, you need to find those good, healthy coping mechanisms because, in the past, for me, when I didn't have healthy coping mechanisms, that's when I would ruminate. That's when I would just throw the towel in and just dive straight into my, despair and desperation and depression and negative thoughts. So that is so, so important, is to take care of yourself. Make sure you're good. And I promise it just helps the whole process of becoming more positive. It is a slow race at first, but once you start going and you build momentum, it's boom, you're good. Like I said, I still battle, I still have negative thoughts, but like I said earlier, when I'm not treating myself the way I should be treating myself, that's when the negative thoughts come on way, way more. We all have doubts, we all have, negative thoughts, but for sure, that's when I get down and out. That's when I get in these little ruts. And when you're doing those things if you want to get more spiritual into it, higher vibrational things, you're doing the things to raise your vibration and making sure that you're staying more out of a higher vibration. That's when it's easier to counteract those negative feelings. But I'm going to end this episode because my camera has overheated twice. She's like, girl, wrap it the fuck up. So I hope that this helped you. It's not going to be a very long episode. Let me know if you like the long ones though. I hope you guys all have a great day, great rest of your week. If you guys want to follow me, all my socials are at Lotus Me Bloom. That's my business page. My website is lotusmebloom.com. That's where I sell crystals and candles. And if you want to follow me on my personal pages, like my YouTube, my Instagram, it's at Madison Ansel. Everything will be linked below. And I will see you guys, or you guys will hear from me in the next episode. Make sure to rate, subscribe, check out my YouTube. I'm doing video now. Hi. Let me know what you liked in today's episode in the comments below if you're watching on YouTube. But with that being said, I really gotta go. See you guys in the next episode. Bye, guys.